Let me tell you about the time I damn near in big trouble that might take my life to death. That happened with me deep in the woods of the Appalachian Mountains. You hear stories about hiking and camping, about how it's supposed to be all peaceful and life-affirming. But when you're face to face with 1,000 pounds of teeth and muscle of wildlife animals, you're not thinking about nature's beauty. It was supposed to be a quiet solo trip. Just me, my gear, and the wild. I was miles from the nearest road, setting up camp in a clearing off the beaten path. It was dead silent. If you've ever been deep in the mountains, you know that's never a good sign. The quiet wasn't natural. My hand instinctively went to my hip, where my Glock 20 sat holstered, loaded with 10 rounds enough to put a hole in most things that breathe. My boots crunched on the dirt as I turned, scanning the tree line. Then I saw it. A black bear. And not just any black bear, the biggest, meanest looking son of a bitch I'd ever laid eyes on. He stood in the middle of the trail, staring straight at me, ears pinned back, huffing. Now, I've seen plenty of bears before. Most of them, they see a human, they turn tail and bolt. Not like this one. He stood his ground, big as life, and I swear to God, he looked at me like he was going to eat me. I didn't move. I knew better. Running is how you end up on the dinner menu. So I kept my voice low even. Easy now, big fella. Ain't nobody looking for trouble here. The bear let out a deep, guttural growl, and my stomach knotted up. Something was off. He wasn't just being territorial, he was pissed. I took a slow step backward, keeping my eyes on him. My heart was hammering so hard I thought he might hear it. Then, just past his massive form, something small moved in the underbrush. A flicker of brown fur, tiny paws. A cub. Ah, shit. This wasn't just any bear. This was a mother bear, and I had just wandered too close to her baby. That's why she wasn't backing down. She wasn't aggressive, she was protective. You ever want to know the fastest way to get ripped in half? Get between a mother bear and her cub. Go ahead, try it. See what happens. I took another slow step backward. I ain't messing with your baby. Just gonna back the hell up and let you do your thing. She growled again, shifting her weight, her muscles tensing. Every fiber of my being told me this was it. She was gonna charge. And then, just when I thought I might have a chance to slip away, I heard the one sound I really didn't want to hear. A goddamn twig snapping behind me. My stomach dropped. I whipped my head around just enough to see something that made my blood run cold. A second bear. Not another cub, another full-grown black bear. Slightly smaller than the mother, but still massive, standing just a few yards behind me. I was boxed in. Panic surged through my veins like fire. One bear was bad enough. Two? I was royally screwed. I had to think fast. Slowly, carefully, I shifted my stance, making sure neither of them saw me as a direct threat. If they attacked at once, I wouldn't stand a damn chance. The mother bear kept her eyes on me, still growling, but the second bear, likely a young male, was more curious than aggressive. He was sniffing the air, watching me with a mix of caution and interest. That was my only advantage. I exhaled slowly and took another step backward, keeping my gun low but ready. The younger bear made a snorting sound, then thank Christ turned and lumbered off into the trees. The mother hesitated, then did the same, her cub scrambling after her. I didn't breathe until they were out of sight. Then I turned and got the hell out of there, moving slow at first, then faster once I knew I was clear. Back at camp, I sat down hard on a log, adrenaline still pumping. That was too close. Way too close. So, yeah, if you're ever deep in the woods and see a big black bear looking at you like it knows where your next move, keep yourself armed for any situation. I've spent most of my life trekking through backwoods, camping solo in places so deep, even the rangers don't bother patrolling. But there's one place I won't ever go back to. One place that still creeps into my head when I'm trying to sleep. That goddamn lake. It started as any other trip. Packed light, drove out as far as the dirt roads would take me, then hiked another 10 miles into the thick of it. I'd found this lake on an old map, no trails leading to it, no campsites marked. My kind of place. I wanted quiet. Just me, my rifle, and the kind of silence you only get that deep in the wild. By dusk, I had camp set up, fire crackling, a slab of venison cooking, whiskey in my flask. The lake stretched out in front of me, black and still as glass. No bugs, no wind, just quiet. Around evening when I was relaxing. Then, out of nowhere, a voice. "Hello, you got any food?" I damn near jumped out of my skin. I hadn't heard a single step, no twigs snapping, nothing. But there he was, standing just outside the fire's glow. A kid. Couldn't have been older than 10. No shoes, clothes dirty like he'd been rolling in mud. His face was pale, eyes dark and too big for his head. Something about him set my teeth on edge. I ain't heartless. Kid looked hungry. I tore off a chunk of venison and handed it over. He took it slow, staring at me the whole time, then sat down right there on the ground, chewing careful like, "You out here with your folks?" I asked. He shook his head. "I live here." Bullshit. I knew damn well there weren't any cabins or homesteads for miles. That right? "Where at?" He just grinned, showing teeth too white for a kid that dirty. "With them." Something cold slid down my spine. "Who's them?" He didn't answer. Just kept chewing, eyes flicking past me over my shoulder, like he was watching something behind me. I turned fast, my hand already on my knife, but there wasn't anything there, just trees and darkness. When I looked back, the kid was gone. Didn't hear him leave. Didn't hear shit. I grabbed my rifle and did a slow sweep around camp, my gut telling me to pack my shit and go. But still, I sat back down, threw more wood on the fire, and tried to shake it off. Then I saw them. Figures. Just shapes at first, standing between the trees, not moving, not making a sound. I counted 3, maybe 4. No eyes shining in the firelight, just watching. I chambered around real slow, making sure they heard it. "You best keep walking." Nothing. They didn't flinch. My fire popped loud, sending sparks into the air. For half a second, I lost sight of them, and when the flames settled, they were gone. I didn't sleep that night. Kept my rifle in my lap, eyes on the tree line, listening. The forest was too quiet. At first light, I packed up and got the hell out. Didn't stop hiking until I reached a main trail where I ran into another group of campers. Normal folks, older couple, and their son. They looked spooked as hell. "You see that kid?" the man asked before I could say a word. My stomach dropped. "Barefoot? Dirty?" He nodded. Came up asking for food. Said weird shit. The woman clutched her son's arm like she was afraid he'd vanish. We heard voices in the night. Kept seeing people in the trees. Thought we were imagining it. "You weren't," I said. "Pack up and leave." Now, we hiked out together, nobody talking much. When we reached the ranger station, I told them what happened. The ranger, old guy, didn't even look surprised. He sighed, leaning back in his chair. "Rumors. Back in the day, some family lived way out there. Real backwoods types. Kept to themselves. Some say they went feral. When settlers pushed through, they just disappeared." Disappeared? I felt my jaw clench. "You let people camp out there knowing this shit?" He shrugged. "Ain't my job to tell grown folks where to go." I left without another word. Drove straight to home. I don't scare easy, but something about that place felt wrong. Like the woods themselves wanted you to forget the things you saw. I ain't been back, and I never will. That happened with me 3 years back. That day, I packed my van a rust bucket Dodge with a mattress in the back and a propane stove bolted to the floor and drove 6 hours into one of the deeper section of the Appalachian Trail. There were completely no cell service. No people. Just long, thick trees that choked out the sky. I found a pull off near a creek, the ground studded with frost even though it was mid-October. Perfect. I cracked a beer, kicked my boots off, and let the cold air scrape my lungs raw. By dusk, I had a fire going, the flames painting the trees in flickering gold. It was around 8 p.m. when the things started to feel. I saw the light first. It was a flicker, quick, greenish, like a dying glow stick deep in the trees to the east. I squinted, thinking hikers or hunters, though I hadn't seen a single soul all day. Then another light blinked on. And another. 5 in total, bobbing in the dark. "Hey!" I called out, half expecting a group of college kids to stumble into the clearing, laughing about getting lost. No one answered. The lights kept moving. Not toward me. Not away, just drifting, weaving between the pines in jagged patterns. Their beams sliced through the dark, sweeping the ground, the trunks, the underbrush. But there were no footsteps, no voices, no crunch of leaves. Just the lights floating. I stood, my beer forgotten. The fire popped, sending sparks spiraling into the dark. The nearest light swung toward me, freezing me in its glare. For a second, I swore I saw a shape behind it tall. Too tall, limbs spindly and jointed all wrong. Then the beam darted away. I told myself it was the isolation. The way the woods play tricks after sundown. But my hands shook as I doused the fire and climbed into the van. I locked the doors and drew the curtains. The mattress felt too thin, the van too flimsy. Around half an hour passed, and nothing had happened. And then the tapping started. It came from the passenger side window, soft, almost polite. I didn't move, didn't breathe. The tapping moved to the rear doors, then the driver's side, circling the van. Scratching sound by the whole van. A dragging sound, metal on metal. I grabbed the door handle. It didn't budge. I yanked again. Nothing. The locks were still engaged, but when I thumbed the switch click, the door stayed shut. What the hell? I tried every door. The handles moved, but the latches held fast, as if something outside had sealed them shut. The engine idled, useless. My breath fogged the windows. Outside, the lights swarmed closer. Then I saw the roof hatch. It was small, meant for stargazing, not escape. I stood on the mattress, fingers scrabbling at the latch. Cold air hissed through the crack as I shoved it open. The lights pulsed below, casting the van's exterior in sickly green. I hauled myself up, shoulders scraping the frame, and tumbled onto the roof. The woods erupted. The lights scattered, beams zigzagging like panicked fireflies. Something moved in the dark, a low growl, deeper than any animal I'd ever heard. Then again, silence. I didn't wait. I jumped, landing hard on the frozen ground, and wrenched open the driver's door. It opened easily now. I peeled out and didn't look back. I drove back to the nearest town. When I told the locals what had happened to me, they refused to discuss it. They simply warned me, don't go digging. Some things get angry when they're found. I left that night. For weeks, I kept waking up to the sound of tapping on my apartment window on the shower curtain rod. The photos I took, I deleted them all. And still, I wonder, what's actually out there? I never went back to that place again, and I swear I never will.